Story time with Angelina. Are you ready? I was thinking about how much fun I have telling stories and making up stories and illustrating stories. Illustrating stories is when we draw pictures to accompany our stories. So this little segment is about giving each of us permission to write our own stories and illustrate them. Now I'm going to tell you a story I wrote and illustrated. And then we'll go and we'll explore how we might make our own stories. Or we'll go visit my friend the apple tree and see what he has to say for today. Are you ready? Okay. The Apple by Angelina Lloyd. There once was a tiny, tired old apple tree, almost too small to notice, and on its withered branches hung a single tiny apple, almost too small to see. All the trees in the forest laughed and taunted the little apple. "Oh, you are such a tiny little apple tree with only one small little apple hanging from your branches. Whatever can you do?" That's not very kind. The little apple tree didn't listen, and the little apple paid no mind. When that little apple looked within its core, it saw a shining orchard. An orchard is a lot of apple trees, and 1,000 apples growing there. Days passed, and the wind began to blow, and the air outside turned cold. The little apple tree shivered and said to the tiny apple, "This is my last winter. It is time for you to be what you are." Oh my goodness. Soon its leaves turned from green to yellow, and one by one they dropped to the forest floor, until finally the little apple trembled alone on its branch. The trees chuckled as they huddled close toward winter's slumber. After all, what can one small apple do? The apple fell to the ground as the snows came, and the winter was long and cold. And when the spring thawed, there were only 7 seeds on the ground where the apple had fallen. These seeds were carried by birds and critters, by wind and snowmelt, until finally they came to rest in the heart of a rich, warm earth. The rains came and the seeds began to stir, to wake, to leaf, to bloom, to fruit. Oh, wow. As the years passed, more seeds were carried and planted, and the cycle continued until one day an orchard bloomed. An orchard is a lot of apple trees. An orchard bloomed where a tired little apple tree had once stood, holding a single small red apple, who looked within and saw an orchard waiting to be born. The end. What did you think about that story? I hope you liked it. I liked it. It's my friend, the apple tree. So I have an apple tree in my backyard. Now, it doesn't have any fruit on it because it's a little early, but it does have a lot of buds. And I thought maybe we'd go out and visit it and get some inspiration. Maybe draw a tree. Do you like to draw trees? You know I like to draw trees. Remember our studio tree? And remember all of the many trees that you have been drawing. You've been drawing so many trees, some evergreen trees, some that looked a little like a Christmas tree, some aspen trees. My friend Stella has a tree in her yard and she calls it cantaloupe. And my friend Will called the tree in our studio a love tree. And every time he came in, he would hug that tree. And all of you told me about trees that you enjoy playing under or visiting. So your job is to go in your yard and find your special tree. I'll go sit under my apple tree and we'll draw together. Are you ready? See you soon. Okay, here we are outside with my little apple tree who's getting bigger every year. And I brought a treat because it's good to have a snack. And I wanted to remind you, do you remember what's on the center of an apple? There's a star in the center of every apple. Did your mom and dad know that? It makes a great snack. I'm gonna eat my apple while I draw my apple tree. You ready to draw yours? Okay, all we need for this activity, some paper, some markers, and a pencil. Let's get started. Okay. When I look at my little apple tree, I see a trunk that goes up. Let me get my paper out of your way. Up like this, all the way up to the sky. And it's got another side all the way up. Well, that was curious. Okay, and it has branches. I'm going to add some branches. My apple tree has a branch that comes up over here. Another one that's coming down over here. One that's reaching here, and it branches off. And there's more in the back that branch. And more over here. And up. Now I have to turn this into looking more like a tree and less like a bunch of lines. So let me add some more branches. And it's starting to get little buds on the end. Can you see some of that? Okay. Now we're going to have to add some markers after I get some of my details in. I see there's a knot here and a knot there. That's from branches that I trimmed off over the years. It's growing. Let's see here. I hear a dove talking to us in the background. There we go. There's another branch. Perfect. Now we can go ahead and start adding some colors. So I brought out some of my colored pens. You have some similar at home, I'm sure, that your family has for you. If you don't, we can use crayons. And I'm just going to spend some time adding color. I'll check you back in just a second. You enjoy drawing your tree and adding color and eating apples with a star inside. Super good. So we have our apple tree drawing and our apple story. So you can decide, maybe you'd like to draw several trees, or maybe you have some ideas of how you could draw a story about a tree or a bird or the grass outside and maybe illustrate it. If you do, please make sure that you share it with me, because I miss hearing about all the amazing, wonderful things you do. And I miss seeing all your beautiful artwork. See you tomorrow.